Welcome back. You're with us on Overdrive. Now, the Mercedes electric G-Wagen, popularly known as the EQG, is all set to usher in an age of sustainable mobility, but it also maintains its lineage of being a thoroughbred off-roader. Here's Rohit telling you more about it.
The G-Wagen needs no introduction. It retained its shape and the rule-the-world attitude for years now. As if it were waiting for the apocalypse to happen, ready to rescue you on doomsday. But now the purists might say the apocalypse has arrived, not on the world, but on the G-Wagen itself. Because you see, this car right here is G for green. Yes, the G-Wagen has gone electric. The last bastion of squared-off excess has gone silent. Let's get the obvious out of the way. This is still a G. It still laughs in the face of aerodynamics, punches a square hole through the air, and lets every other SUV know who's boss. The G580 looks nearly identical to its combustion-powered siblings, which is a very good thing. You still get that upright stance, round headlights, exposed door hinges, and of course, the mechanical thud of those vault-like doors. But if you're paying attention, there are differences. The slightly raised bonnet, cooling ducts on the rear fender, and the telltale green registration plate immediately out it as the electric G. Sure, there's the badging too, but Mercedes-Benz has kept it subtle because EQG doesn't have the same ring to it. But G580, that points to 580 horses. Oh yeah, this thing is a brute. It still means business. It's not trying to appease the woke generation who think performance needs to come with a trigger warning. The G-Class is about presence, not subtlety. So the spare tire case on the tailgate on our model still houses an actual spare wheel, not charging cables disguised as a design feature. The G580 isn't just a G-Class with batteries stuffed under the floor. This thing was purpose-built to handle electrification, and Mercedes-Benz did not cut corners. Instead, they gutted everything between the ladder frame and crammed in a colossal 116 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery pack. Because subtlety has never been the G-Wagon's strong suit. They paired it with 4 electric motors, one per wheel, churning out 580 horsepower and a borderline absurd 1164 Newton meters of torque. You heard that right, 1164. Because why stop at excessive when you can go all the way to ridiculous? The torque isn't the kind that will rip tarmac or the tires to shreds, but it's relentless. Power delivery is smooth and calculated, launching this behemoth from 0 to 100 in under 5 seconds. If you thought going electric meant the G-Wagen forgot how to off-road, think again. The G580 has 250 millimeters of ground clearance. That's taller than some people's first apartment. So speed humps on the road feel like mere suggestions. Undulations, trails like these, walk in the park. Add to it the 20-inch wheels and it's more practical than even the G63 AMG on all-terrain, and even taller than the G400 Adventure Edition on sheer ground clearance. There is a low-range mode that makes crawling up or down a trail feel like a walk in the park. And the differentials are all electric now, meaning they can do everything the standard G can. And then some that none of its predecessors could. The G-turn, a party trick that lets it pivot in place like a tank. You might think it's completely unnecessary. You might think it's a gimmick until you come to trails like these, especially narrow ones like these, where you have drops on both the sides. This is where it really shines. All those nerve-wracking 3-point turns, on. It can just pivot around itself on trails like these and you can just head back if you want to. One more nifty feature is the G-steer. Again, the switch looks very similar to one that is for the G-turn, but this one is for the really tight, narrow U-turns, hairpins, etc. that you want to take, ideally on the trail only. Again, you need to be in rock mode. Again, you need to have the low range engaged, and once you do that, you can see that something as narrow as this is again a walk in the park. Let me show you. The result of tech like this is that this rolling footrest suddenly feels more like a nimble mountain goat when the going gets tough. It's still the same indestructible G-Wagon, just with more tricks up its sleeve. The battery is housed in an encased, water-resistant sandwich structure, so wading through deep rivers isn't a problem. Now, speaking of daily usability, it's got a 116 kilowatt hour battery pack that is good for about 350 kilometers of real world range, which I think is quite good for a car of this order. As far as charging is concerned, if you were to find a 180 kilowatt fast charger, you can go from 10 to 80% in less than an hour. As for your standard 11 kilowatt home charger, you're looking at about 14 to 16 hours of charging time. Inside, it's business as usual. Sumptuous leather, dual screens running the latest MBUX, and enough ambient lighting to make even the dullest of night drives feel like a VIP lounge. The G580 First Edition gets a few exclusives, like the contrast blue stitching and unique trim finishes, just to remind you that you got in early on the electric G-Wagon bandwagon. Practicality? The boot space is still generous. So is the G580 just a novelty? No. This is Mercedes proving that the G-Class has not only survived the test of time, it's surviving electrification too. Or should I say, thriving. In fact, I think this is the best all-rounder G-Class.
Well, it's time to head into our final commercial break here on the show, but on the other side, we'll get you the ultraviolet shockwave and also the ultraviolet tesseract that's clocked 50,000 pre-bookings within just 2 weeks.